Afternoon, guys. Again for today, it's still Thursday afternoon. It's the day that I took the video of my poor Negra Armada cutting that seems to be failing. And I'm a little bit cognizant of the fact that I am taking a lot of videos, but I did receive another shipment of cuttings and figs today, and I've potted them all up and they're going to go in the tent. And it strikes me with another problem. The problem being that the tent is just so full. The tent at the moment, both tents in fact, are full to the point that I'm actually not sure where I'm going to put them. And I have thick plants sitting in the middle of the tent, blocking walkways, entire shelves up the back that's chock full. All of the top layers of these big pots are full of thick cuttings everywhere. It is really a problem, actually. It's really kind of something that I'm going to have to work out what I'm going to do. I'm going to put these cuttings in the very few remaining places that I can chuck them in. And I think, oh my god, look at that. More aphids. More. God damn these aphids. Can't win the aphid war. But I'm going to put all of these figs in here. I'm going to squish them in there so that they can get along and survive and do their thing. And I wanted to talk about a few more things, but I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to put these in the tent. I'm going to make sure they're all secure before it starts getting cold outside, and then I might migrate to the computer and give a few more thoughts about just things that have been on my mind that I want to talk about. But yes, full tent, great new shipment shipment of cuttings arrived today. Very excited. A lot of these I'm particularly excited about. This Capri fig I am very excited about. And I know Capri figs are not particularly sexy to everybody, but to me they are extremely sexy. We've got some Vardica to replace the ones I lost. We've got some Datato, which is often thought of as a sport of a common American fig whose name escapes me, but it'll come back to me I'm sure in the next video. We've got some French Paillard. We got some good figs in here today, and we have some Greek figs that have just arrived here today. Sapelosica. I'm really gonna have to work on the pronunciation of that. My Greek is not very good, but we'll talk about that in a little bit. In the meantime, I'll get these up in the tent and I'll see you back in a bit. Evening again, guys. It's still Thursday. It's a bit later in the afternoon. It's actually nearly 11 o'clock after getting everything I needed to get done today. And I just wanted to kind of sit down and, after having a couple of things happen in the last week, have a bit of a talk about some of the reasons that in particular I like to focus on figs. And I know that I initially started this channel for the tropical fruits that I was doing, which still obviously are a big part of what I do, but for years and years now I've had a really strong focus on growing figs. And figs, I think, are one of those fruits that just have an appeal to so many people. I mean, you can look online and you can see people that collect apple trees or stone fruit or persimmons or any other types of figs, but they never seem to have the same followers and the same kind of enthusiasm that you get in the fig community. And I think figs in general really have this something about them. I mean, figs are one of the most ancient fruits on the planet. There's evidence that show that figs are potentially one of the oldest of all the agricultural crops in the world, even predating grains in some instances. They've been found in some of the earliest kind of Bronze Age civilizations where people have actually had these cuttings. And I think that figs have some sort of a romanticness to them. There's stories about figs being, some people even say that the fig tree was the fruit in the Garden of Eden, the fruit of forbidden knowledge. I'm not a religious person, but I think that all of these kind of tales and kind of myths myths and legends that surround it. Figs came up in the time when there was the ancient empires, Greece, Rome, Egypt, all through the Mesopotamia region, where all of these this is like the basin of civilization, and kind of figs came along at this entire time. And I don't know if it's something that's kind of ingrained in people that kind of makes us as a people be more interested in a fruit like a fig. I mean, in comparison, apples have only been first cultivated around 3,000 or 4,000 years ago, compared to maybe 11,000 years for figs. And so when you're looking at it in this way, it really is such an ancient part of us, I guess. And so I've always had a real interest in figs. I used to keep a blog, 10 years, maybe more ago, and that blog can still be found online for the adventurous amongst you. And this blog was just me pottering around the garden, much as I do now, except I used to type it all out, which I found is actually really hard to do. But the thing that kind of inspired me to come along today and to kind of put this particular video together is that I've received 2 letters this week from people that I buy cuttings from on eBay. And the first letter was from a person who, and I'm not going to read it out or kind of identify who they are, but they basically said that they years and years ago had been reading my blogs, and it was part of what inspired them to start kind of putting their own collections together today. Now, my collections in the past weren't anything spectacular. I mean, I had, I don't know, 5 to 10 varieties, and I was pretty proud of it at the time, and I was proud of the way that the figs grew. And then things happened in life where, unfortunately, all that collection is gone, and I eventually had to start from scratch, which is why you've seen me in the last kind of couple of months, if you've been following along these videos, collecting these fig trees and kind of expanding the collection out further. It's kind of where I wished I was if I had been able to do this that kind of 10 years ago. There's an old saying that the best time to plant a tree is 10 years ago, and the second best time is today. And so I guess what I'm doing is that collection. I'm collecting all of those plants that I wish I'd done over the past 10 years and haven't been able to do, and have this year really just started doing that again. And so that was the first letter that I got from this person, and he mentioned an online Facebook community for figs, actually, which I've since joined, and it seems to be really like a great place. And I've already met 1 or 2 people from there that I think are also exceptional people. They share the same interests and things like that. But then I received another large order of figs today, and that was a video that I started with today. It came from around 3 to 4 sellers, and amongst those sellers I received a second letter. This is quite a long letter, and it's from some people that are Greek. They came across with their family from Greece years and years ago, and as a part of that, and it's very common in Australia, they brought some figs across. And these guys also wrote a letter, and they've mentioned that they do occasionally watch my videos, which I do appreciate. And this particular seller I've bought a lot of figs off. They have a really great collection. They have a very large collection of European figs, really interesting named varieties that you just don't see very often. And they included for me a fig today, the one that I mentioned earlier, in which I'm having a very hard time pronouncing, the Sapelosica. And I'm sorry that I'm butchering the pronunciation of that fig, but it's another fig that I can add to my collection. And this first guy that wrote me a letter as well, he also sent me a couple of varieties that I didn't have. And this kind of generosity that you see in the fig community, I think it's really kind of beautiful. I do like to see it, and I think that the people that watch my videos, and even people that are overseas and share these same interests, I think they can kind of resonate with that and understand what I'm saying, especially if they've connected with other similar communities. Now, the other thing that I want to mention is when I was potting up those figs, I mentioned that I have a particular interest in Capri figs. And when I was back 10 years ago or so, whenever it was, doing my blog, I used to walk the streets of Canberra and have a look around for fig trees. So the fig tree that I did in my experiment the other day, I found that by walking throughout the streets of Bruce, where this tree is, and I would find trees that were hanging over the fence and had fresh fruit to try, or like this one that was there, and I tried the fruits on all of them, and I kind of look around. And all the time that I've been doing this, in all the streets that I've walked over these years, I've never ever in Canberra at least seen a Capri fig. And it's kind of, I don't know if it's worrying, but it's a sign of the way that the fig and maybe the fruit industry has gone, where all of the named varieties that we have today, whatever the named variety you want to choose, whether it's a Celeste, or if it's a Violet de Bordeaux, or if it's a whatever it is, it doesn't matter. Each one of these figs started almost entirely from a seed, and this seed came from a caprified fig, and this is a fig that's been pollinated by a fig wasp, and that's required a caprifig to do that. And so whilst it's great that we have hundreds and maybe thousands of fig varieties in the world, and people are sharing them between them and they're excellent varieties, the new varieties that could possibly come up, they just, at least in my experience and at least in Canberra where I am, they just don't have the capacity to occur. If there's no caprifigs, we have sterile figs on the tree, which are delicious to eat, but they don't contribute anything to the growth and to new fig varieties. And so I've really kind of wanted to establish a base of caprifigs that I'm going to put amongst my plants when I get my land settled, whenever that might be. It's extremely overdue. I'll be planting a number of caprifigs, and in fact I'm going to take, once I get caprifigs established, a great number of caprifig cuttings, and I want to kind of plant them, kind of guerrilla planting them around town, where they can kind of be established as a caprifig. And there's some figs in gardens, or I would say that almost every street in Canberra, or at least every second street has a fig tree in it, a common fig, a female fig. And if I can plant caprifigs, kind of, even if it's in a small area, and these figs can become established, and then I can find a way to either import the fig wasp, or if the wasp is already in the area, give them a place for them to kind of establish them further. I think that's a really great thing. And I also want to potentially over time have my own new varieties form. So if I have these really large varieties, and at the moment I've got somewhere in the realm of 60 active cuttings going, and if they can, even 3/4 of them succeed and turn into great tasty figs, and I have a few caprifigs going, there's going to be no doubt a few birds are going to get to them. They'll drop their seeds and we'll get some new figs. And those new figs, not all of them are going to be common figs, female figs that we can eat. Some of them are going to be more caprifigs, which is great. Some of them will be a Smyrna type fig, which is a fig that needs to be pollinated before you can actually eat it. Otherwise they don't grow, they don't turn into a fig that we see. And then a small percentage of them will be common figs, female figs. And of that small percentage that is common figs, some of them will be crap, some of them will be delicious, some of them will be, most of them will be probably somewhere in the middle. But maybe I'll get lucky enough over the next 5, 10, 15, 20, who knows how long, but maybe I'll get lucky enough to find a new variety that has come from seeds from my own plants that have been pollinated from one of these wonderful caprifigs that I've kind of purchased from eBay and other places. And so I know I've posted a lot of videos in the last couple of days. It seems that these things come in spurts, where I'll go in the grow tent and I'll notice something interesting, and I will find a reason to put a video up. And that's happened in the last few days. I had my Brugmansia fruit. I had a cutting that I really wanted seemed to fail. I had frost affected plants, and all these things kind of come together. And even though typically I think of winter as a down season, this year in particular, especially since I'm supplementing, I'm cancelling winter with grow lights and tents, I found that it's I've got a lot to say and do, and I'm sorry if I'm boring you all with my repeated videos, but it's something that I really am quite passionate about and I do enjoy, and hopefully some of you out there are happy enough to enjoy it as well and come along for the ride. And so I promise not to annoy you guys with any more videos over the next couple of days. I'm actually headed to the coast on Saturday for a few days, so that'll be nice to get away and out of this cold Canberra. But I'm sure that I'll be back soon with some more. And as always, thank you everybody that's watched these videos, and people like these two people that have sent me letters. It really does. It makes my day. It makes me very pleased, and it just reinforces the enjoyment that I get out of this kind of growing in general. So I'll let you guys go and have a great night, and I'll see you all in the next one. See you later.